In the ruthless, utterly unforgiving, high-stakes theater of professional football, the margin for error is essentially zero. We're talking about a brutal, intensely physical world where entire legacies, careers, millions of dollars, the hopes of millions of fans are forged and destroyed in the span of a single, solitary heartbeat. Now, I want you to visualize something for a second. The goalposts in the National Football League are exactly 18 feet and 6 inches wide. When you are standing point blank, that looks massive. But from a distance of 60 yards away, with the stadium swirling with wind and the season on the line, those uprights look like absolute toothpicks. And as we continue our countdown of the top 10 Dallas Cowboys of the 2026 season, we finally arrive at a player who embodies that razor-thin margin better than literally anyone else on the current roster. We arrive at a man who hasn't just played the game, but who has fundamentally altered the actual geometry of the NFL. I'm talking about kicker Brandon Aubrey, landing right here at number 7. Now, let's really dive into this because this isn't just your standard story about a football player working his way up the ranks. Absolutely not. This is a cinematic, almost unbelievable journey of a man who took the ultimate leap of faith. It is a story packed with astronomical pressure, record-shattering wealth, and a right leg that has completely broken the traditional mathematical formulas of offensive play calling. We are looking at a man who has transformed from an absolute unknown, a former software engineer literally staring at lines of code in a quiet cubicle, into the most lethal, high-priced sniper in the entire sport today. Everything changed in a matter of seconds, and it didn't happen in a locker room. It happened on a living room couch. I want you to really picture this scene because it defies absolutely everything we know, everything we are taught about how professional athletes are molded. We are so accustomed to the traditional, rigid narrative, right? Athletes bred from childhood, attending elite sports academies, playing at Division I football powerhouses, being meticulously groomed for the NFL draft since they were teenagers. But Brandon Aubrey's path to becoming the Dallas Cowboys' most reliable and terrifying weapon, it started on his sofa. We have to look at exactly who he was in this specific moment in time. He was a former collegiate soccer player who played at Notre Dame. And yeah, he was drafted into Major League Soccer by Toronto FC in the first round, but the dream faded. It happens. He was eventually cut. His professional athletic career had effectively and quietly fizzled out. So he transitioned into the harsh, mundane reality of civilian life, taking a standard 9-to-5 job as a software engineer. The stadium lights were replaced by fluorescent office lights. And then, one day, he was simply sitting at home with his wife watching a football game on television. And in a passing moment, as they watched a professional kicker on the screen miss a crucial, routine kick, his wife turned to him and just urged him to try his hand at it. A totally casual suggestion, a simple what if. In that one singular moment, the seed of a completely impossible dream was planted. Honestly, it's the kind of origin story that feels like complete Hollywood fiction, but it was the quiet, unassuming start of the greatest kicking career in recent modern history. So the crucial question we have to ask ourselves is, what does it actually take? What does it truly take to go from a software engineer sitting on the couch to a record-setting NFL millionaire with the weight of the Dallas Cowboys franchise, arguably the most scrutinized sports franchise on the planet, resting entirely on his shoulders? Well, it requires a psychological resilience that most human beings simply do not possess, period. The mental gulf between writing code in a quiet, climate-controlled office and staring down 80,000 screaming, hostile fans is immeasurable. Taking a massive leap of faith in your own living room is one thing, but actually executing that leap under the blinding, unforgiving lights of AT&T Stadium, that is an entirely different universe. Turning an impossible dream into a terrifying, high-pressure reality requires far more than just raw, physical leg strength. It requires an absolute, stubborn refusal to let the moment consume you. It requires a mind that can completely silence the noise, ignore the massive stakes, and repeat a singular, violent, mechanical motion with the precision of a robot. And as we look at how Aubrey actually pulled this off, you begin to realize just how fast his entire world flipped upside down.
Section 1. The Rapid Ascent. A Leap of Faith.
I use the word rapid extremely deliberately here because the sheer impossibility of these individual steps happening so quickly is staggering when you break it down. Let's walk through this timeline. Step 1, the couch. The casual suggestion from his wife that sparked the whole thing. Step 2, the local high school. Think about the profound, grounded humility this takes. He goes down to a local high school field, a grown man with a soccer background and a corporate day job, just kicking footballs through uprights on his own in the early hours of the morning before anyone else is awake. He decides to take it seriously enough to actually dig into his own pockets and hire a private kicking coach, grinding through repetitive, grueling reps before going to his desk job. Step 3, the USFL. He grinds his way into a professional debut in a developmental spring league, putting on the pads for the Birmingham Stallions. Out there, he proves to himself, and more importantly to professional scouts, that his leg can absolutely translate from a dusty high school field to the professional gridiron. And then, the final monumental leap, the NFL. He catches the eye of the Dallas Cowboys and signs a professional contract. All of this, from the couch to a Dallas Cowboys contract, happened in the span of just a few short years. Let that really sink in for a moment. In the league where general managers spend hundreds of millions of dollars scouting players from the time they are playing under Friday night lights in high school, Brandon Aubrey bypassed the entire billion-dollar developmental system. He arrived at the very pinnacle of the sport in the absolute blink of an eye.
Section 2. The Impact. Breaking the bank.
But look, the fairy tale of the soccer player making good only lasts until it's time to actually do business. $28 million. I want that number to just hang there in the air for a second. This isn't just a large contract. This is a massive, paradigm-shifting, record-setting 4-year contract extension. This payday ranks first all-time among kickers in total value, it ranks first all-time in annual average, and crucially, it ranks first all-time in guaranteed money. When a franchise hands you the biggest kicking contract in the history of the sport, the narrative fundamentally changes overnight. You are no longer the quirky, feel-good underdog story that everyone roots for. You are a massive line item on the salary cap. You are an investment. And the Dallas Cowboys, they expect a flawless, unwavering return on their investment. The sheer weight of that price tag brings an intense, almost suffocating pressure. Every single time he trots onto the field, every time he lines up the laces, he literally carries the weight of $28 million on his right leg. Every single swing is scrutinized by accountants, analysts, coaches, and diehard fans alike. There are no excuses anymore.
Section 3. The 60-Yard Sniper. 2025 by the numbers.
So how exactly did he respond to the immense pressure of that massive, historic price tag? If you look purely at cold, hard statistics, his 2025 field goal percentage was 85.7%. Now, in a vacuum, that ranked 14th among all kickers in the league. You might hear that and think, okay, that's good, but is it $28 million good? But you absolutely cannot look at that number in a vacuum. It is incredibly misleading. You have to look at the microscopic details, the exact context of where those kicks actually came from. Look at the top row here. Under 50 yards, he was flawless, 0 misses, absolute unyielding perfection. He did not miss a single solitary kick inside the 50-yard line all season long. Now look at the bottom row, 50-plus yards, 11 makes, 5 misses. Aubrey attempted more 50-plus yard field goals last season than any other kicker in the entire National Football League. 5 of his misses came from beyond 50 yards and 1 came from beyond 60. Do you see what's happening here? The Dallas coaching staff assigned him the most dangerous, high-risk, low-percentage kicks in the sport, and he still nailed 11 of them. He took on the hardest, most punishing jobs in the league, effectively sacrificing his overall completion percentage on paper while remaining completely untouchable on the standard kicks. They relied on him to be the ultimate cleanup crew for stalled drives.
6. Just 6. This represents the absolute zenith of human leg strength in the NFL. 6 is the all-time NFL record for the most 60-yard field goals made by a single player in a career, and Brandon Aubrey is the sole holder of that record. Last season alone, in 2025, he connected on 3 of those monstrous kicks from over 60 yards. Let's break down the sheer physics of what this actually means because it's insane. We are talking about kicking a football over half the length of the entire field. The snap travels exactly 8 yards back in a fraction of a second. The hold must be absolutely pristine, laces out, exact tilt, no fumbling. Then, the launch angle has to be meticulously calculated by the kicker in a split second. It has to be low enough to have the sheer physical distance to travel 180 feet through swirling, unpredictable stadium drafts, but it must be high enough to immediately clear 11 massive defensive linemen, men who are 6'5", 300 pounds with 3-foot vertical leaps, rushing with absolute violence to tear your head off. The physics of it are mind-boggling. It shouldn't be possible, and he has done it successfully 6 times.
Section 4. Crushing the rivals. Ice in his veins.
But distance is only half the battle. The other half, the truly terrifying half, is timing. It is one thing to kick a 60-yarder in the first quarter of a low-stakes game on a sunny, beautiful Sunday afternoon. It is an entirely different universe to step onto the field when the clock is expiring against your most bitter, hated divisional rivals. Aubrey delivered game-winning, walk-off daggers against both the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. I want you to picture the scene against Philadelphia. Primetime television, the deafening, shaking roar of 80,000 fans, down by a single point, 4 seconds left on the clock, the entire NFC East divisional crown hanging right there in the balance. The opposing coach intentionally calls a timeout just to ice him, forcing him to stand out there on the turf and think about the sheer magnitude of the moment. A missed kick here doesn't just cost you a game, it costs you the trust of the entire fan base. The media would eat him alive. But Aubrey proved the moment is never, ever too big. The snap, the kick, the split second of deafening silence as the ball hangs in the air, and then the eruption. And as for his routine, everyday duties, he was 47 for 48 on extra points, a 97.9% success rate. When the game was on the line and when the routine points were required, he had absolute ice in his veins.
The Cowboys are nearly guaranteed points by simply getting to midfield. I really want you to truly process the gravity of that statement. This isn't just hype. This isn't hyperbole from an excited broadcaster. Aubrey's leg has fundamentally and entirely changed the Dallas Cowboys' offensive strategy. Think about the incredible, unheard-of luxury this affords a play caller or a quarterback. You do not need to drive the ball to the 20-yard line anymore. You don't need to penetrate the red zone. If you just manage to cross the 50-yard line, you are instantly in scoring range. It completely alters defensive coverages on third down at the 40-yard line. The defense knows Dallas doesn't have to force a risky deep pass. They can just run the ball, take a safe yard, and let Aubrey kick it from the logo. It alters clock management at the end of the half. It alters the mathematical reality of the game. He has essentially turned midfield into the red zone, completely breaking the traditional NFL playbook.
Section 5. The ultimate 2026 test. Higher expectations than ever. But here is the brutal truth of the NFL. What you did yesterday only sets the baseline for what you're expected to do tomorrow. The NFL is the ultimate what have you done for me lately league. There is no resting on your laurels. So look at these staggering, near-perfect projections expected of Brandon Aubrey this year. The pressure on his shoulders has literally never been heavier. He is projected to attempt between 40 and 45 field goals with an expected success rate climbing to 88.9%. And that is despite his insanely high degree of difficulty. He is projected to hit 50 out of 50 extra points. That's 100% perfection. Zero room for a bad snap, zero room for a slick spot on the turf, or a rogue gust of wind. They expect perfection. He is expected to land his 4th Pro Bowl selection, and he is expected to secure his 2nd first-team All-Pro selection. When you sign a $28 million contract, you aren't just expected to win a few games. You're expected to be a historic anomaly. You are expected to be a machine. And if those baseline projections somehow weren't enough to make your stomach drop, there is a specific, unbelievable new milestone that analysts are projecting for him in 2026. The target? 4 60-yard field goals in a single season. This is actively pushing the very limits of human leg strength and biological consistency. Think about it. Hitting one 60-yarder in a season is a career highlight for most professional kickers. It's the kind of thing they frame in their house. Hitting 4 in a single campaign is a feat that requires perfect mechanics, absolute optimal weather conditions, and a coaching staff that trusts you unconditionally from a distance where a miss guarantees incredible game-losing field position for the opponent. Basically, they are asking a former software engineer to become a flawless cyborg. It is the ultimate tightrope walk in professional sports. Which brings us to the final lingering question. We know the moment has never been too big for him. We know the journey from the living room couch to the NFL record books is already totally secure in history. No one can ever take that away from him. But as the 2026 season dawns, a darker, heavier tension remains unresolved. Can he carry the suffocating weight of a $28 million leg all the way to a championship? Regular season accolades and 60-yard bombs in October are fantastic, but the Dallas Cowboys franchise is judged by one metric and one metric only, the Lombardi Trophy. When the playoffs arrive and the margin for error shrinks from 0 to sub-zero, will this former soccer player be the ultimate difference maker that finally pushes Dallas over the edge? The expectations are sky high, the contract is locked in, and the entire football world is watching his every single step. This is exactly the kind of high-stakes, cinematic drama we love breaking down for you. Welcome to NFL Nexus. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on the most intense, unbelievable stories in the league, you need to subscribe to the channel right now. Hit that button, like the video, and comment on what you thought. Can Aubrey actually hit 4 60-yarders this year? Let us know down below. And if you truly want to take your fandom to the next level, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. We'll see you in the next explainer.